So first foreign trip.
Well, you are watching Sky News, and it has just gone 1 a.m. here in the UK. We are watching live pictures here of Donald Trump answering questions and signing executive orders in the Oval Office. Let's continue to listen to what he's got to say.
They bought $450 billion. It was the least reported story I've ever been involved in.
And now, where are you planning to go now?
Well, I don't know. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy another 450 or 500, we'll up it for all the inflation.
Mr. President, you say you were going to end the war's first day. How do you plan to end the Ukraine war?
Well, we're going to try and get it done as quickly as possible.
Do you want to push Israel and Saudi Arabia?
It should have never started. You know, the war with Ukraine and Russia should have never started. It would have never started if I were president.
Will you push Israel and Saudi Arabia to normalize relations?
I don't think I have to push them. I think it's going to happen, but maybe not quite yet. But they'll end up being in the Accords, the Abraham Accords.
President Trump,
I think Saudi Arabia will end up being in the Abraham Accords.
This year?
Could be, but soon. Not in a very long way. Oh, look at that! It says TikTok. My! What is that all about?
First, we have Alaska, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about Anwar?
I believe that would be included in aspects of the order.
So we're opening up Anwar.
on the TikTok piece, President Trump, you and your members of your team now used to warn about the dangers of TikTok spying on Americans. What changed that you're not worried about that anymore?
Well, it depends on the deal. I mean, I may not do the deal or I may do the deal. TikTok is worthless. Worthless if I don't approve it. It has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless, worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
The TikTok CEO.
In other words, I think the U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner. And that would be worth, could be $500 billion or something. It's crazy. The numbers are crazy. But it's worthless if the president doesn't sign, then it's worthless. If the president does sign, it's worth maybe $1 trillion. So I think, like a joint venture, I think we would have a joint venture with the people from TikTok. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's one of many ideas I've had.
The CEO is down. Did he say that he's open to that idea?
Who?
The CEO of TikTok is around.
Oh, I think he'd probably like it. Because he's got nothing. I mean, they really have nothing. It's passed in Congress. It gives the president a right to make a deal or to close it. And we have 90 days to make that decision. But I could see making a deal where the U.S. gets 50% of TikTok, polices it a little bit or a lot, depends on them. But remember, they make telephones in China. They make all sorts of things in China. Nobody ever complains about that. Here they're complaining about this. There's so many different products made in China, and nobody ever complained about it. The only one they complain about is TikTok. And TikTok is largely young people. I guess I have a warm spot for TikTok that I didn't have originally. But, I went on TikTok, and I won young people up by 36%, Peter. And Republicans typically don't do too well with young people. But it's a different Republican Party.
Would the U.S. government buy a portion of TikTok then, or how would it get that 50%?
No, you'd take 50% of TikTok for the approval that TikTok can continue in business. And they'd have a great partner. The U.S. would be their partner. But the U.S. essentially would be paid for doing that half of the value of TikTok.
Would there be a private sector owner as
Could
well in
be,
the
yeah,
U.S.?
could be a lot. Tell you what, every rich person has called me about TikTok.
You wanted to block TikTok. Why did you change your mind?
Because I got to use it. And remember, TikTok is largely about kids, young kids. If China's going to get information about young kids, I don't know.
Are you
I think,
Chinese?
to be honest with you, I think we have bigger problems than that. But when you take a look at telephones that are made in China and all the other things that are made in China, military equipment made in China, TikTok, I think TikTok is not their biggest problem. But there's big value in TikTok if it gets approved. If it doesn't get approved, there's no value. So if we create that value, why aren't we entitled to like half?
Sir, if they don't come in 90 days, will you shut them down?
Does Biden ever do news conferences like this? How many news conferences, Peter, has he done like this?
Like this?
None.
0.
And it would be 0 for the next infinity. For infinity, it would be 0.
Mr. President, when do you plan to talk to President Musk going to help implement the executive orders? I think you mentioned
No.
implementations in your opening
Elon,
answer.
no. Elon's very busy sending rocket ships up to various places with lots of satellites on them.
What is your reaction to the confirmation of Marco Rubio, and what does it mean for Latin America?
Which one?
Marco
Marco
Rubio
Rubio.
tonight.
Marco Rubio. You said Marco.
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think Marco's doing a fantastic job. I think he's going to get a lot of votes. I think he's going to be at 90% or something. I mean, I'm hearing very good. People know him. They know him in the Senate. They know he's good. He's doing a good job. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with that. He's got some very strong ideas, though, Marco.
You signed
Which one
the
did you
TikTok
sign,
order,
Mr.
right?
President?
Did you sign the TikTok order?
Yeah,
Yes, that was just said.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many did you
still
sign?
changing
Are you going to
Venezuela,
sign?
changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in Venezuela?
Well, we're going to find out about that, too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another embargo like the first term?
Well, it could be, but we don't want to buy, we don't have to buy their oil. We have plenty of oil for ourselves, so
President Trump,
that'll change Venezuela quite a bit.
President Trump, there was a lot of concern about this during the campaign. A question that only works today. Are you a dictator on day one?
No. I can't imagine even being called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote. The Democrats didn't because they cheated like dogs, but I believe in the sanctity, and this was too big to rig. This last election was just too big to rig.
Mr.
But
President,
no,
believe in climate
really
change.
the opposite.
when do you plan to speak to President Putin?
Could be very soon.
And you talked a bit about Ukraine and Russia, but how long do you think it would take to end that conflict? And
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week. And now you're into 3 years, right? So he can't be thrilled. It's not making him look very good. Now, eventually, you know, I mean, it's a big machine, so things will happen. But I think he'd be very well off to end that war. We have numbers that almost 1 million Russian soldiers have been killed. About 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are killed. Russia's bigger. They have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country.